Okay, so it's recording now. So I'm going to invite you today to experience this a little bit more, and we are going to look at some different things today, but one of them is how to apply this to yourself and to see how your character types may be impacting, or your answer may be impacting your therapy with your clients, and how you may be being triggered by certain clients. So we're going to do a little experiment today. We're also going to see a couple videos and case examples of somatic processing, as well as other experiments with the body and how things show up in the body when people are processing. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and get started. Okay. So this is the part 2 of the 6-hour Power EMDR training. And so just to review the goals of the training, understanding attachment and the body in EMDR treatment, and how to work with that, and how to use the information you get from those things to be more effective really with EMDR. And so predicting blocks and overcoming obstacles, learning how to deepen the client's sense of safety and identify the way the clients manage their experience, and learn specific resources depending on the client's needs, and how to modulate and track the client's experience in a moment-to-moment way. That's going to be that's going to be something that takes practice, and so having an opportunity to practice this will also be good. And then tools to help the client access more deeply. So how do you get, when someone is stuck, how do you get them through that stuck part? And this is a different photo of the shining star. These are actually my 2 new great nephews. They were born in May, just in May, and they're so adorable. So this is to remind all of us that this is how we all are under all of the things, under all of the memories and lies. And everything that keeps us from being a shining star is either a memory or a lie. So anything that keeps us from being this pure and beautiful human is showing up as a result of experiences where we felt we had to contort ourselves some way or cut off from ourselves in some way. And so with EMDR, we're actually trying to help people become free by, first of all, identifying, helping them to get to the root of the issue, and then to let go of whatever keeps them from being free. And this is a simple explanation of EMDR that you can use with clients. A lot of people ask for this. And it's just kind of a reminder of what we're doing with EMDR. And a reminder that what we're looking at is how previous experiences are stored in the brain. And then we feel like that event is either going to happen again at any moment or is happening now. So that explains the overreaction that we do as humans after we have something bad happen. We have some conclusion about ourselves and the world, and then we believe that's going to happen again. And when some event happens that may be similar, or just has an element that reminds the system of that disturbing event, the brain reacts as if the original disturbing event is happening. And it reacts in the part of our brain that stores the emotional content. And so it doesn't necessarily say, oh, you're reacting to what happened to you when you were 3. It just has this lighting up of our system in an emotional way that's an overreaction. And EMDR helps to move the storage of that memory, the activation actually, to a more functional part of the brain that can experience the event as actually being in the past. It's just a memory now. And our clients will often say that, it's just a memory. And it's important to know that there is a real physical change that's happening with EMDR. And events that previously triggered the brain into an overreaction no longer have that effect. The person can now react to the present without the past interfering. So I just got an email from someone who was in a training I just did in Denver. And remember, this is someone who, most of the people who come to the training, some people have had some experience with EMDR. This particular person has not had any experience with EMDR as a client. And in the work that he did in the 6 days of the training with someone who was brand new at EMDR, they had never been an EMDR therapist before. He said now going home, he doesn't have anger issues. And he said, my wife is really happy about that. And so things that used to trigger him no longer trigger him. And that's with brand new EMDR therapists. So this work that we're doing is pretty important. And it also doesn't just change the lives of our clients, but it changes the lives of everyone around them. Anyone in a traffic jam with somebody who has an anger issue or rageful driving, they're affected. And so when that doesn't happen, we might not be able to see it not happening, but it's really encouraging to know that we're really bringing more peace to the world while we're doing this. So it's important work that you're all doing. So I would like to, so I kind of like to wait and make sure that everyone's here who wants to be here. But I'd like to start with a mindfulness that I usually start my trainings with. And it will be an example of also bringing in a probe and an experiment. So I'm going to unshare my screen for a moment. Okay. All right, so I would like to invite anyone who would like to join me. And those of you who are also just watching it later, I'd like to invite you to join me. Whatever level you're comfortable with. So whatever helps you to bring yourself to a mindful state, I'd like to invite you to do that now. Part of mine is to turn off my phone, so you might want to do that too. And then just bringing your awareness to how you know you're here right now. And noticing for you, what calls your attention first? For some of you, it may be something inside of you. So you may notice a warmth inside of your body or some energy there. Or your breath or heartbeat. So it may be something physical. Or it may be something emotional. Some of you may notice feeling sad or a heaviness that feels like sadness. Or an excitement about what's going to happen today, or the fact that it's Friday. And even some others may notice an irritation with just maybe with this exercise. Whatever you're noticing, just see if you can bring awareness to it. And then some of you may notice something outside of you that tells you you're here. So maybe it's a noise in your environment, the feeling of your feet on the floor, your seat on the chair, maybe even the air on the outside of your skin, or the sound of my voice. Just notice in your unique system, what tells you you're here? And what happens as you bring your awareness to your state of being here? Is there a difficulty shutting off thoughts? Or you notice a lot of thoughts? Is there a judgment of yourself or the exercise? Or maybe there's something positive, like a sinking in that happens for you as you bring your awareness to being here, like a relief. Whatever happens for you, just notice. Now I'd like to invite you to bring your attention to any way you're not here right now. For some of you, you may have the television on in the background and feeling that your energy is pulled that way. Or to people in your environment. Pulling your attention. Or maybe there's some sense of being worried about something. Some sense of being in the future, worried about something that's going to happen. Or some sense of thinking about something that has happened in the past and being not quite here. Just noticing, whatever way you're not quite here right now. And I'd like to invite you to invite all parts of you to be here. And just notice what happens as you hear these words. I'll say them twice. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. Just noticing in your experience, any way those words landed and felt right, or any part of you that said no, maybe tensed up. Just allowing whatever's here to be here. Now I'd like to invite you to notice any part of your body or any part of your being that feels like there's some either lack of energy there or some way that the energy feels tense or tight or stuck. Whatever calls your attention first, just bring your awareness there. And as you bring your awareness to that part of your body or being, just inviting it to be there, as big as it needs to be, whatever is there. As stuck as it needs to be, as tense as it needs to be. Just inviting it to be here, just as it is. And as you bring your awareness to that part of your body, if that part of your body could speak in words, what would it say? Just allowing whatever comes up to be here, without judging that it's right or wrong. Or without having to understand it or overthink it. Even if what it's saying is very, very quiet, or maybe it's even saying, I need to be really quiet. Whatever it is, loud or quiet, just allowing. And now I'd like to invite you in whatever way works for you to bring in love or kindness to that part of your body. Maybe it's a thought of someone you know for sure you love, the image of them. Someone you know for sure loves you. Or maybe even a pet or a spiritual being, or an image of sun, the sunshine, or the full moon we had the other night. Whatever it is for you that helps you to connect with kindness and love, I'd like to invite you to invite that in right now. And just notice if there's any shift for you. And then taking your time, as long as you need, to open your eyes if they're closed, to bring your awareness back here. Okay, so that was an example, and for some of you, if you decided to join, an experience of both a probe and a getting information from the body that you can use for yourself like that, or you can use with clients. And so sometimes when people get stuck with a physical sensation or unpleasant body sensations, getting information from the body can be very useful. Okay. So let's see how we're doing. No questions there. All right, so let's share the screen again. Okay, so as we're talking about complex trauma, what we're basically really talking about is attachment trauma. And so there are layers of working with people with complex trauma. And so you have the PTSD trauma along with the developmental trauma for complex trauma. And so the ways of working with that are to help the two things. In PTSD, we have the fight, flight, freeze, collapse, and submit that we're working with, and how to identify those things, and how to help release that over arousal, excess arousal from the body. And then we have also at the same time, the layers of the developmental trauma. And so those human action systems that got out of balance because people were adapting to their environment or trying to stay safe or connected to their caregivers. And so these are the areas we talked about yesterday that we're looking at. What's over or underdeveloped for people? And some of those areas are attaching to others, exploring, energy regulation, caregiving or nurturing, sociability, play, and sexuality. And so looking at your clients and in those different ways of being a human can be very helpful. And then how do we do it? First is understanding the client, then finding the answer, looking for patterns, and how do we look for those patterns? We do it by tracking, which is noticing, and noticing with our whole self, not just noticing and their whole self. So we're not just noticing the content, it's really tracking both what they're saying, but even more than that, what they're doing and what you're experiencing with them and how it feels. And then how to do the contacting after you have tracked, after you recognize, here's a pattern here, here's what I'm seeing over and over again. What do you do with that? How can you identify really the answer in a way that is that doesn't make it come up even more. Doesn't make our clients become more defensive. And so also using probes and experiments, because doing it in that way that's like inviting, like I was doing in the mindfulness exercise, it's inviting and it's curious, it's non-shaming, and it's just like open to whatever you're experiencing is okay. That's an important part of EMDR. We're not trying to get them to do something. We're not trying to make them better. We're not trying to get their symptoms to go away. We're open and inviting and creating an environment that helps their own system to do that all by itself. Well, I don't know if all by itself, with our assistance, but we are setting those conditions. And so what are probes and experiments? Probe is a statement that's used to deepen an experiment or get more information, experience or get more information. And so as you heard those words, what words did I use? Something about you are welcome here. Whatever happened is not meant to make you feel welcome here. Sometimes people will feel like I'm trying to make them do something. That's not the intent of it. The intent is to notice whatever's here, to see what happens in the client's system as those words are presented. And so the same for you. It's about either the way it landed, and even more important, the way it doesn't land, because that's what we're always looking in EMDR for, uncovering kind of what's still limiting. And so if someone's walking around feeling not welcome, that's limiting them in some way, right? And then the experiments are, Would you like to try something? So it's an activity that's done to deepen an experience or get more information. And so I have some video clip of an experiment, and also a somatic processing video. And so how do we use these? So we're using these throughout the 8 phases, and they can be used as a cognitive interweave. So you can use them if the client is stuck in processing, which I'm going to show you an example of. And also in the earlier phases, just to get information, just to find out what's there or what the client needs. So this is an example of it's a cognitive interweave. And remember that a cognitive interweave is only called cognitive because the therapist thinks of it. It's not going into cognitive therapy. So a cognitive interweave can be a somatic experience. It can be a shift in the body. And so I want you to notice first that I had done a lot of tracking before, or not notice because I'm just going to tell you. I want to let you know that before I ever pointed out what I was seeing with her, I had done a lot of noticing. So I'm noticing. And then as she becomes stuck, I become curious. I wonder how this way that this energy appears stuck in her body is a part of her being stuck in this process. And so I asked if she would like to try something. So I'll show you this and then take your questions if you have them and explain more.
Here in the sadness comes up and then it goes away. Yeah. I wonder if you'd like to try something, just try something that might help. I noticed there's a lot of holding your body. So you're holding it, yeah, up and back. And I wonder if you would just be, what would happen if this time we focus and there's just like you allow your body to just come forward a little bit. So you want to try that just to see what happens as an experiment? Okay. Yeah, so, and you're not mad at me. Oh, no, you're doing really a great job. Okay. Yeah, so just allowing yourself to be here, yeah. Yeah, just letting it be here. Yeah. Yeah, just really just letting your body slump forward as much as it needs to. Yeah. Just let me do it. I've had this strong urge to be in a fetal position. Yeah, so just letting yourself, it's almost like there was this holding that happened that you had to do. Yeah, at the time. Yeah, and so it's really important to let your body know you don't have to do that. And so whatever it is your body wants to do is fine. Be okay to notice that. Okay.
Okay. All right, so any questions about that before I move on? No? Okay. So, so what we were doing there was was basically a cognitive interweave because she kept being stuck in cutting off from the sadness. And so I was seeing how she probably had to do that. And so it was coming up as if the memory was happening, but it came up a lot in her life. So the way that she was stuck, the reason she was, wanted to do the demo was because in the processing, in the training, she kept feeling frustrated because she couldn't get to, she just kept cutting off from her experience and and it's a way of dissociating, really. It's dissociating from her emotions. And she had to do that at the time. So we're going to have another clip of this session that's going to show the release of the trauma out of her nervous system, her central nervous system, in a moment too. Let's talk about the somatic resources with attachment. So as we think about what resources people need, we first want to see what is their answer and what's over and underdeveloped. Because like for her, what was overdeveloped was cutting off from emotion, which was very helpful. It was adaptive at the time. Because if she wasn't able to be vulnerable because of her experiences. And so what's underdeveloped was being able to be in touch with emotion. So that's some way, if we're cutting off from a part of ourselves, there's going to be some way that imbalance shows up in our life and then creates limitations, really. And so some of the things that can be over and underdeveloped are, one is boundaries. So being able to say no is a type of boundary. Being able to say what you want is a type of boundary. Your needs mattering is a boundary. Sometimes people are over boundaried by always saying no. Over boundaried with anger that keeps people away. And sometimes they're under boundaried with just like, okay, I'll do whatever you say, I'll do whatever you want. And saying, agreeing to things they don't want to agree to, not being able to say no. So we're going to look at that with clients and then have some experiences of that. And that's sometimes an experience can be, or an experiment can be, what happens for you in your system as you do this? And if someone has had a lot of sexual abuse or physical and sexual abuse, just doing this can feel really threatening. And so it might just really take them out of the window of tolerance to do that. So first exploring and noticing boundaries and then having some experiments with that. And it might be just first using the scarf exercise or any kind of something like this, that having them put it around them just right where it feels just right, having a boundary between you and them or around their chair. And then what is it like to have something entering that boundary? I use Beanie Babies because they're kind of playful and fun. And so having a Beanie Baby, having them choose which Beanie Baby to use, and experiment with having it outside. And what tells you in your body that that's just right? For some people, they're like, I don't know. I have no idea. And you're going to see that in the video too. When people have to cut off from their experience and their body, what's underdeveloped is actually knowing what they're feeling in their body, or knowing why they're having it, or knowing how they're experiencing an emotion. And so what tells you you're angry? It might just be a thought. It might not be anything in their body. It might be, I have no idea what tells me. I don't know how to, even bring awareness to my own experience because that was cut off. And then auto-regulation, how do they regulate by themselves? So for some people, they can only regulate through other people or through connection with someone else by calling someone and getting help. Other people auto-regulate, so they only can regulate on their own. So what do they do when they're stressed, and how do they calm down? Or what do you do in extreme situations is what we want to look at. for our clients, and then helping them to develop that. So if one is overdeveloped, the other is underdeveloped, likely, and we just begin to explore that with them and become curious about it. And then connection. So for some people, that's overdeveloped. They merge into the other person, feeling everything that's around them, really sensing and feeling everything that's there. And for others, it's like this firm boundary, not connecting with other people, only, staying isolated. And so what's over or underdeveloped in that area for clients? And then expression of will. For some people, the expression of will is overdeveloped. They have to have everything they want, and they have to have it now. So if they don't get it, they're going to ask for it. And if they have to, they'll force their way in. And so their will is actually overdeveloped. And they don't know how to just be with what's here and allow mistakes to happen and allow people to have, be human. And so that ends up being like a sense of, too much of a boundary, and it creates issues. Or expression of will can be underdeveloped. So, I don't know what I want. I'll do whatever you want me to do. I really don't care. I don't care, whatever it is, that kind of thing. So looking at, and for some people, they've never developed the ability to know what they wanted. Everything was always, what do other people want me to want? And, for one client in particular that I was working with, he said, not only did it not matter what I wanted, but if I would ever express what I wanted, it was certain that I wasn't going to get it, that the opposite would happen. And so when that's the case, it's not only just underdeveloped, like nobody asked what they wanted, but it was like, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? You think you're supposed to get what you want? Life's tough. You're not going to get what you want. I'm going to teach you how to, be able to tolerate not getting what you want. So looking at that with our clients, the expression of will, and how do you practice that? One is in the middle of processing, making sure you're asking, would you like to do the eye movements or the tapping? Giving them choices, and then asking that next question, and how do you know you would like that? What tells you? Or it could be as simple as 2 Beanie Babies. And I wish I had my Beanie Babies here. So let's use this. All right. So this picture. And so I might have this, and wish I had another picture of something. Well, I have a picture of, I'll do this with the bunny. I'll use the bunny part. The bunny. And so which one do you like better? And what tells you? How do you know you like it better? Do you like the pink bunny, or do you like the monkey with the funny face? Which one of those? And then guiding them to help them develop, what tells them, there's just kind of a happy feeling inside when I see the monkey, and I like the monkey. Having them choose between two things, having them, talking about how they know what they want, how they know what they like for sure, coming up with some activities they know for sure they really enjoy. Because most of the time, if expression of will is underdeveloped, there is a sense of, I have to do, life is hard. I just have to do all the things I don't want to do. And that's just how it is. I actually had someone, when I was doing the dreams list, say, I can't do this because it is the dreams list some of you know of and some of you don't who haven't taken the training. It's making a list of 20 things that are that you would 20 things that you would do or have or own or create or give back if you had no limits. So if you had no limits of time, if you had no limits of support, you had no limits of money, you had no limits of anything, what would you do like this dreams list? And I do that in the trainings most of the time in order to help people to see what's over and underdeveloped for them, if it's easy for them to want things, or if it's hard for them to want things, if it's hard to be creative, and also to use it as an example of, for the future, we want to help people develop what is it they want if they had no limits. And so that can be a difficult thing and something missing in therapy sometimes. And then remembering that it's always now. So we don't take our clients back in time. We don't regress our clients. We don't go back there. It's always now. And then I came up with these 5 C's of working with the answer. And this kind of explains how we, as we see the developmental patterns surfacing, which are the answer, the way that people had to adapt in order to stay connected or attached, how do we work with that? So the first is catching it, seeing it happen many times and noticing it as a pattern. So it might be a way the body is moving, or it might be cutting off from emotion, or it might be getting angry, or maybe some way that you'll see them doing something, in most of the time it is when they begin to get close to pain, this will start happening. So becoming curious about it. We're going to ask about it too. I sent all of you my practicum sheets that I use in the trainings. And so it has in there the answer. It also has the other sheets that we use to find the targets and other forms that are useful. And so asking about the answer as a part of the preparation phase can also be useful. So catching it and bringing in curiosity. Once you catch it, you don't necessarily point it out. So you see it happening many times, noticing it as a pattern, and noticing what the pattern is. So what I was doing with the client just now, as I pointed out this holding, I had seen it over and over again, and then it just called my attention. So I was curious, I wonder if that was helpful. So being able to see it in the view of EMDR, we're really always looking at how the past is manifesting right here before our eyes. It's so amazing, really. So after all these years, here it is. You know, the person in the video had an experience of her father doing this, telling her to think, think, think. And she felt like she had to know things before she knew them. And so as you're doing that and you're like surprised or scared as a kid, and an adult is pressuring you to know something you don't know, what would you do? That makes perfect sense to me. And so as I was seeing her sit there, I was becoming curious. Wow. So I wonder how that was helpful. And it makes so much sense. It would not be useful or helpful for her to begin crying or to be angry or to show emotion to someone who is pressuring her. And then collaborating. This is a really important part because we want to join in understanding. What we don't want to do, which happens a lot, is skip to trying to make it go away. So what I wasn't doing is trying to make anything go away there. I was just curious of what would happen if you want to try something, just to see if it's helpful. It might be, it might not be. And so that collaborating is really important. And before you collaborate, you've already kind of looked at it through the view of, okay, this is what we're working on, and I wonder if this is what is happening, what happened back then that's showing up right here in front of me. And so we're not doing inner child work here. We're just really noticing how the past is stuck right here in their brain in this moment, how it's stuck in their system. And so if you're not really understanding, if you do really understand, you'll say something like, of course this is happening. You know, this is what you had to do. By doing that, what we're actually doing is kind of becoming friends with the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper is the person, is the defense, really. And then we contact, after we have the collaboration, after we're friends with the gatekeeper, we do the contacting. And so it seems like it was helpful. It's the best way to do the contacting. So it seems like it was helpful for that client to come out of her emotion and to really not feel. So that was kind of the problem that she was spinning on. But as she was spinning, guess what came up with that? Shame. Like, I want to have this experience of EMDR. I can't feel it. I want to be able to feel. But every time I try to feel, I cut off. Then it's just automatic. Right. And so let's just begin to look at how that was helpful. So it seems like in that memory, it would be really helpful. And so asking that as a question is usually the best way. So do you feel like this might have happened at the time, or this might have been helpful at the time? Even shame itself can be very helpful at the time. And then connecting. So the last one is, we are connecting, helping them to connect the past to the present, how the past is manifesting right now. How has it been helpful? And any way it gets in the way now. So if we had more time with that experience that we did this morning, I would have said, you know, let's notice that area that's stuck energy in your body, or that tension. And those, after we notice those words, is there any way that's trying to help, or it's been helpful in the past? Because we want to get that first, because it's like the gatekeeper wants to be appreciated. They're like, I'm just trying to help here. I'm just trying to keep this person safe, or make sure they stay attached to the people they love. And then, so once you are saying, so, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, thank you. You know, let's really appreciate that you're trying to keep this person safe, and that you're trying to keep this person attached, because that actually keeps them safe when you're a baby, right? Or a kid, or even a teenager. And then you want to say, so is there any way it gets in the way now, or maybe not? Is there any way it limits you or keeps you from getting what you want now? And then once you really understand it, it's usually really easy for them to say, well, yeah, you know, now when the anger was really helpful, because I had a lot of people abusing me or bullying me, but now it comes up when I'm driving and I have these rage incidents, or now it comes up with my spouse just when I get frustrated when she's late or something, and it really ruins my whole day. Ah, okay. So once you understand it, and then that helps you have a way in. So now there's some way that we're seeing that it does get in the way. Okay, so it is time for a break. But I'd like to invite all of you to do, if you haven't, is to go to your email and see the handouts. And also, we're going to do an experience with you with the answer. And so if you want to, you can find that form in your email. So I'm going to stop my sharing screen and stop the video. And then I found we don't have to stop the whole